I feel like I've had an attitude for most of my life of like, whatever's happening to me right now is teaching me. It's easy though to forget in the thick of it because when it's painful or hard, you know, you can't see the through line. But I think it's interesting like how life sets you up for the next thing, you know? How you think, why is this happening? I want that thing. And life's like, well, this thing has to happen first so that you become who you are in order for that thing to happen. And I think the more I can remember and trust in that, the more everything works out. Hey there, I'm Ricky Bowen. I'm a junior, and here goes.
In 2019, Joshua Bassett landed his breakout role in the playfully titled Disney series High School Musical, The Series. And in 2021, he released his self-titled first album, which included the hit single, Lie, Lie, Lie. So you can lie, 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 lie. Today, the 21-year-old actor/singer is about to appear in his first film, Better Nate Than Ever, which premieres April 1st on Disney+.
Bro, it's like 7 a.m.
Joshua plays the title character's older brother, Anthony, who supports his younger sibling on his journey of self-discovery.
Yeah, it's funny. Tim Federle, the director and writer of it, who also created High School Musical, sent me, or the musical, the series, key difference there. He sent me the script and I read it in one sitting and immediately I just called him and I was crying and I was like, I need to be a part of this in any way I can. And it was because it's specifically my role, Anthony, being the older brother, you know, I think a lot of times with sexuality, it can be really difficult with parents, let alone with siblings, and the nuances of like getting support from your siblings or being afraid of your siblings to really know who you are, et cetera, et cetera. And so being able to be the older brother to somebody who's figuring out their sexuality and to be able to represent that on screen and bring that to life in a way that I could have used when I was 10 years old, you know, I think as soon as I read the script, I was like, I need to be a part of this. I need to help spread this message and yeah, like I said, be the person I needed when I was 10.
In 2021, Joshua's own sexuality suddenly became a talking point during a May 10th interview with Clever News.
What is it about Harry Styles that I admire? He's just cool. Like, he's cool. Who doesn't think Harry Styles is cool? Also, he's hot, you know? He's very charming, too. Lots of things. I guess this is my, this is also my coming out video.
The following day, the Disney star shared an emotional Instagram post with his nearly 3 million followers, saying, "I choose love," which Joshua punctuated with a rainbow of hearts.
It's so funny, like I said this in my Instagram post, but everyone my whole life has told me my sexuality, like both ends. I've been told my whole life, you're very gay, or you're not gay, or everything in between. And it's like, why is this any of your business? Why do you feel the need to tell me? And also, like, what does it matter? Like, those are the three thoughts that I always had. And so I was questioning my sexuality for a while, or more so like being like, yeah, I think I'm a lot more open than I used to believe. And I think I was just afraid of being open because I was afraid of these consequences. And so once I got over that fear, I was more open about it. And then, yeah, I was just doing an interview and they kept asking me questions about Harry Styles. And I was like, this is pretty much my coming out video. And yeah, I wasn't intending on saying that, but I also wasn't fully kidding. I wasn't kidding. So, so it, you know, it turned into what it did, and then we ended up making the best of it. But yeah, and since then, honestly, you know, making that post was the easiest thing I've ever done, truly. Like, I feel so much more liberated. I feel like it just really showed me like how silly it is to like hide who you are in order to like appease a small group of people, you know? It's like I said, at what cost do you bury your heart and soul?
While Joshua plays the older brother in Better Nate Than Ever, he's also inspired by the story of Nate, someone who's struggling to fit in and must run away from home to find himself.
I didn't know you could do all that.
Yeah, what I think is interesting is the movie is more so about this idea that he doesn't fit in his hometown and he doesn't need to fit in his hometown, and so he goes and follows his bliss to where he knows he's going to be celebrated and welcomed. And I think it's, you know, I'm not saying anyone should run away from home to New York, but you know, there's something about the magic in that story of this kid who's just not settling for what the world tells him he needs to be, and he decides, I'm gonna be me no matter what and whatever it takes. And one thing I'll say in addition to that, and that I've been saying to my fans on my Discord channel, is the question, who would you be if you weren't afraid? And I think that that's a very important question to ask yourself daily, or as often as possible, is who would you be if you weren't afraid? And I think Nate is the embodiment of who we'd all be if we weren't afraid. You know, he goes for it and he does the thing. And I'm getting chills talking about it. It's very inspiring.
For Joshua, the concept of fear is something he's thought about a lot after everything he faced and overcame in 2021.
I think what's interesting is, like, last year, a lot of my biggest fears came true. And in that, I'm okay. And so it's almost like a blessing, like, oh, I got to see a lot of the things that I was afraid of happen, and I turned out all right, if not better off. And so it makes me a little more at peace when, you know, I have these other things that I'm afraid of that I'm like, okay, but if it were to happen, you deal with it and you'd be okay.
Joshua's 2021 began with a life-threatening health scare. On January 14th, while shooting season 2 of his Disney series, he was rushed to the hospital after suffering near-fatal septic shock and heart failure. He was told by doctors he had a 30% chance of survival.
It had been about a week of, like, every day getting worse and worse and worse, and I was like, it'll get better one of these days. Like, it's got to turn around. I was sleeping like 16 to 20 hours, if not more. I literally was just asleep. I couldn't even stand up for longer than 30 seconds. And then it was, yeah, on that day, I wasn't getting any better, and I think I went up to go to the restroom, and I felt my heart literally failing, and I was like, this is different. Like, this isn't just like, oh, I'm having anxiety, like, this is bad. And I felt in my left arm, and, you know, I knew that that's like a sign of all that stuff. And then I was like, this isn't right. I was like, I need to go right now. And so I don't know what it was other than my heart. It was just an innate knowing. I was like, I need help. I need help right now. So I called them and I went to the hospital, and they were like, you were right. If you hadn't checked in within 12 hours, you would have been found in your apartment. And it's wild that I was this close to just taking another nap, you know? But there was something in me that knew that it wasn't right. You would think that an experience like that would be like, oh, I need to enjoy my life and everything's great. And I think it made me realize, like, just how much of my life I was missing. And I think I felt so hopeless, and I felt so, it's just so interesting. Because again, you'd think coming out of that I'd be on the top of my game, but I really was even more depressed than before. But what it did was it did really show me what is causing a lot of that stress and what is causing a lot of that that depression. I didn't necessarily know how to get out of it yet, but it did make me aware for sure of, like, okay, something's not right and something isn't healthy about my lifestyle. And you would think that music would have been therapeutic, but I had like a panic attack every single day. It was, I was in such a tough spot that, like, I couldn't fake it. You know, I couldn't, like, go into the studio and pretend like everything was okay. Sometimes, yes, I was able to make something out of my pain, but a lot of times it was just like me grieving and going through all these different, you know, feelings. So honestly, like, I think I'm enjoying making music more now than I did all last year, but I do think that there was a part of me that knew, like, I had to continue to make music. But yeah, it was definitely stressful and hard.
Later that year, on December 3rd, Joshua released 3 new songs: Crisis, Secret, and Set Me Free.
But don't you dare act like I didn't love you.
Well, interestingly, when I put out Crisis, Secret, and Set Me Free, that week was worse than the year combined. So it's interesting because people would think, oh, this release, you must feel so much better now. You've got that off your chest, you know, all this. But again, like, I never wanted to make those songs in the first place. Like, that is it. Those songs came from, like, the lowest low of my year. And so while, again, it was great to release them, it just brought all of that stuff back up, and the healing isn't very linear. And I think a lot of times people can look at it and be like, oh, you went through this and now you're better. But it's like, no, it really is a roller coaster, and stuff will just come up out of nowhere.
You would never dare to waste a crisis. You don't get to take all of me. Set me free.
What's interesting about that is my therapist, she loves the song, but every time she hears it, she goes, you know, only you can set yourself free. She says it every time, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. I think that song still has a special place in my heart. It's in my top 2, I think, songs I've ever made. But interestingly, I've sort of understood now that it really is me who can set myself free, and that it really is me who can give myself permission to move on, who can give myself permission to not allow whatever anyone else is trying to do to me or doing to me or whatever to govern my energy and who I am, and they don't get to tell me who I am.
I won't ever let you hurt me how you hurt me.
Well, I think I feel a lot better, especially after the week of release. Like, the week of release was really tough, and then after that I came back and I was like, okay, I feel a lot better. I know that I made the right decision. It was what I needed to say, and I put it out, and I was really proud of all the interviews that I did around the time, and that's really all that you can do.
In a GQ interview published the same day Crisis, Secret, and Set Me Free were released, Joshua opened up for the first time about the sexual abuse he suffered both as a child and as a teenager, saying, "I experienced sexual abuse a lot in my childhood. I didn't remember that until last year. And when I was a teen, a much older man routinely abused me, and I wasn't able to see it for what it was at the time." Traumatic experiences which Joshua continues to process through therapy.
What I realized recently, actually, is that the reason why I haven't been able to process so much of it is because I went into shock, like pure shock. And you disassociate completely. You're no longer in your body. You're completely out of it. And so it seems like this distant memory that didn't, it almost feels like a dream because it's been pushed away so much. But I think as I'm like learning how to like regulate my nervous system, like literally, and just like stay calm as this stuff comes up, I'm able to see like, and sort of peel back the onions and go back to that moment in time and sort of allow my younger self to like put their guard down, and know that they're safe. But again, once you go into freeze, you don't realize it. You don't even realize you're in shock. And so for the last however many years of my life, I didn't even know that I've basically been in shock since then, or that area of my life has been guarded by shock. So again, it's just taken multiple conversations with my therapist to like really figure out what was going on. And I'm still very much in the middle of the whole process of it. And I think it is a lifelong thing, but definitely learning a lot. It's interesting, the shame thing, really. It's so funny how much shame will just dictate your life when you hide from it. And it only takes like talking to a therapist or a friend and unpacking, like just saying how you feel, that you realize what you've actually been believing your whole life. And whether that's I deserved it or I could have done something about it, which this one really bothers me. This one really bothers me. Sorry if I'm not allowed to curse, but great, is when people will accuse victims and say, why didn't you do anything about it? And what they fail to see is that when you go into freeze mode, you literally shut down. Your body is not, you shut down. So to hear, and people saying that towards me, people saying that towards other people, like, I don't take it personally, like I said, but it infuriates me on a level of you are sorely misunderstanding what is happening in these processes, and you should shut your mouth. People who don't know anything about abuse should not be making comments about abuse, should not be saying, he could have done something, or he deserved it. I heard that. Like, that is why there's shame. That is why there's all that stuff. And people say, how brave of you for talking out. It's a no-brainer for me. It is a no-brainer. Until it is something we can talk, it's a sensitive topic, but until we can talk about it, I'm not gonna shut up. Because the saddest thing I saw was someone saying, if he got treated like that, what would happen if I were to speak out about this stuff? Like, someone in a position of privilege who has an audience, who is getting people invalidating my experience. I can't imagine someone in a small town coming out to their community or to their family about it and their fear of being diminished in that way. I won't shut up until we're far past that.
With 2021 thankfully behind him, Joshua is already looking forward to his next chapter, which is well on its way. His latest single, Doppelganger, was released in February. His film, Better Nate Than Ever, premieres in April, and Season 3 of High School Musical, the series, will be out later this year.
I'm constantly seeking, like, how can I have a greater impact on myself and others? How can I make the world a better place? And whether that's through music, through different things I'm doing through my music, like charity work, through projects that I can't talk about right now, through any way that I can. It's like, how do we spread light and allow people to experience more peace in their lifetime. Like, is that not the greatest gift you could ever give anybody? And whether that's through my own experience or helping other people share their experiences. Like, I want to be able to tell the stories that I haven't seen told and that that can change lives. And I think that lights me up like nothing else. Like, that is all I want to do ever, truly.